welcome back to the shed, my workshop journey. And as I said last time, it's well over 3/4 of the way through the project, and so we've really just got small jobs to do now. First thing I'm going to be doing this afternoon is sanding the top so that the banding that I put in will be level and flush with the top of the piece. Then I'm going to be trimming the top of the legs of the carcass so that the lid fits nicely flat and flush. So those are the first two jobs I've got to do this afternoon. Let's crack on. Now I've got a couple of sanders I could use. I've got this Bosch palm sander, and then I've got the belt sander as well. I'm going to see how I get on with 40 grit on the palm sander first, and I'll see how that goes. Shouldn't take too long because these bands are only small and thin, and I only have about 1/2 mil to take down. So see how we get on with this, and then we can crack on. Now then, that is coming down. There's still some way to go to take that all the way down so it's flush. There's quite a little step there, and just here. But one thing I noticed, and I did mention this last week when I was cutting these side channels for the banding, I drifted slightly so that there's quite a gap there, and there's a little nick there as well. And one of the little tips I spotted from YouTube earlier in the week was to pack these with sawdust from the material that I've been using. There's plenty in the vacuum bin, and then flood it with super glue to bond it into place, and then sand it flush. Now I've only seen the videos. I have no idea whether that's a good idea or not. Be interested to know what your thoughts are on the matter, but I just throw that in as an aside while I'm just looking at this sanding. So it's coming down nicely. I'm going to carry on with the 40 grit, and about 5 minutes that should be down. There we go. So that's taken that down flush nicely. Obviously I've got a little bit of scoring on the top, but lighter grits will take those out. So that's what I wanted to do for that this afternoon. That's looking nice, isn't it? The little bit of burning on the OGs will come out with sanding, so that's good. Now the next job I've got is to trim the tops of these legs so that they are flush with the rails. The question is, how am I going to do that? I don't really have, well, I don't have any flush saws that I could use. So what I think I'll do is get the jigsaw out and take the finest blade that I have for that, and run the foot of the saw against the rail and cut like that. Right, this I think I've shown you before. It's the Bosch GST 90, and the blade that I'm using is the T101. It's the finest blade that I've got that will do a clean cut on hardwood. I've checked that the plate is perpendicular to the blade, so what I'm going to do is cut along here like this, but make sure that the blade doesn't scuff this surface. It'll take most of it off, then all I'll need to do is carefully sand. I've reduced the speed slightly, so let's see how this first one goes. That's taken most of it off, but I realised, of course, I really should just mark where the line needs to avoid. Should have done that first. Never mind. Let's try this. Helps if I position it so it actually cuts wood. There we go. And roughly flush. Little bit there needs coming off. There is a step there, but let's just pop the lid on just to see how it goes. There's a little bit of a wobble, but all in all, I'm pleased with that. Right, what I'll do now is just finish off with the sander, just to take those little bits down, and then we'll be ready. So that's all of the top pieces just brought down to size and just smoothed off briefly with the sander. I've also gone over the rails just to make sure that there's nothing sitting proud between the rails and the legs. That's all nice and done. The next thing, and I think I mentioned this last week, what I'm planning to do now is take the router with, I'm not sure whether to have a round over or a chamfer, and just take it round all of these internal corners, just to put a little bit of decoration just here. So let me get the router box out and I'll have a look. So the smallest round over I have is that one. Now I'm not quite sure what diameter that is. I really need one with the bearing. So there's either that one, that came from a very old router set that I had. The router unit came with a set of cutters, and that's one of them that survived. There's that. That's the next one up. This was a Wielden cutter. So that's about twice the size. I'll have a look at that. But I also have this chamfer, and it is actually a small panel raise, but I can, because of the bearing, and I can put a different size bearing on that, I can just make it a chamfer. So those are the three I'm going to have a look at. Right, the smallest round over is that one. If I take it almost down to the end, in fact, let's have a look. Where's the caliper? This is roughly 6mm radius. Okay. This one, the bigger of the round overs, is roughly 12mm. So that would be, if I take it down to the corner and just above the edge of the legs, that's going to give me a 6mm round over. I think the 12mm will be a bit too big. Okay, now then, the chamfer, that was the bearing that I'd got fitted, but what I've done is doubled the size of the bearing so that I'm going to just have a chamfer. And so if I take that down again just to this corner, just above the corner, that will give me something like 7.5mm as a chamfer. And I'm torn, I don't know which one to go for. 6mm round, 7.5mm chamfer. I am absolutely not sure which one to do. So, choices, choices, choices. I know, what I'll do is set up a test piece and I'll try both just to see which one I like the best. Right, the 6mm round over is in place. Let's make the test. Depth needs to be adjusted slightly, but that's that. Now then, make sure the power's off before I do any adjustments. Now the not the 12mm round over, I want the chamfer. And that needs to come up quite a way because it is a much larger bit. Okay, retrieve the vacuum. So, where are we? That's the chamfer. That's given a nice edge to that. It's because the chamfer cutter has come from Wealden, it's much better quality than the one that was thrown in with the kit router set that I got. So that's quite a rough cut. And although I like the size of it, I like the edge on the chamfer much better. So I think I'm going to go with the chamfer. Right, let me get the carcass and we can have a look. So here's the chamfered edge on the test piece, and that is quite a nice size. I like that. Let me just double check with the caliper. Now that's about 6mm depth. That's going to be a nice finish on there. I like that. Let's go for that. Right. What I want to make sure is nothing rocks. This is rocking slightly, so I don't want anything to move while I'm working. So best way to clamp it. And another one. That is fine. The bench rocks slightly, so I'll just find something to just slip under the edge. And I've got a piece that I took off the leg that I can use for that. That's made that nice and secure. Okay. Now then, will the vacuum fit? That's going to be a little on the tight side, so get the extension. There we are. That's given me plenty to work with there. That's the router. Vacuum. Make sure the power is on. Make sure my ears are on. And I do like that. Just taking that corner out. That's smashing. Right, let's do the other three sides. that is smashing. Just what I wanted, just what the doctor ordered. And I think you can see that quite nicely there. Those have taken the corners down, nicely rounded round the corner, obviously with the guide bearing, and everything is looking hunky-dory. Right, so that's as far as I'm going to go for today. The next thing I will need to do, as I mentioned earlier, I need to fill in those little gaps in between the banding and the top. That means I'm going to need some super glue, unless anybody has any other ideas. And please let me know in the comments below if you have a better idea of how I can do that. I've got to source some hinges, and just to make sure I've got the right size, these rails are 24 millimeters wide, so I need something like a 20 mil hinge for these back rails. I've got to source those. I know where I'm going to go. That's Ironmongery Direct, because I have used those before. And then I can start preparing for the finishing coats. I need to make sure I've sanded everything down nicely, so that everything has got at least a 180 grit finish on the surfaces. And then we can start putting the finishing touches. Oh, and of course what I want to do, not only am I going to have the hinges on this back rail, but what I want to do as well on here is have some sort of guide, so that the stay rod, so that the lid will stop up once it's lifted. That's something else I want to source as well. And again, Ironmongery Direct is the place I'll go, because they have a very comprehensive list. So, as I said, that's as far as I'm going for this afternoon. Just clean up with all of the shavings from the router, and then I'll see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye.